touch up Pulaski County. So we just wanted to come on and let everybody know we have overnight had a tornado touchdown in Garland County on Lake Hamilton or the Lake Hamilton region. This is not that. It is not a tornado. We're not seeing any rotation, but this is heavy rainfall. This is likely containing some large hail, especially right along the Saline County, Pulaski County line. And then those winds coming into the Chenal Mountain area, Chenal, Ferndale, all of those areas, we're getting that downburst of wind, which sometimes, like James said, that can increase to maybe 70, 80 miles per hour. We have seen these many times take down trees and power lines. So here's downtown Little Rock. We are now included in the severe thunderstorm warning, which continues on up to Jacksonville, Scott as well. So it's a very large warning that was just issued by the National Weather Service. And we know that this is waking a lot of people up here in Pulaski County. James.
All right, so we had just said on our last stream we were going to stay with this and send it back as long as we had a threat for a tornado. We were going to stay with it. But this is almost the same as having a weak tornado when you can have 60, 70, and 80 mile per hour winds. So I want to show you exactly where this core of strongest winds is. And this is going to be coming up on the Big Rock Interchange. And Steve, here shortly, I'm going to get some of our weather cams queued up on VRAD. But I want to show you one of them. And this is in the downtown area. It is storming very good. And I want to show you our weather cameras in West Little Rock. And actually, our West Little Rock camera may now be down. And so that likely with the storm that we are having. But here's the view from, I believe that's Hot Springs. There's the West Little Rock camera. You see it is frozen, so it is now down. And there's the view from Chenal Mountain. Now that is exactly north of where the highest winds are occurring. And we're dealing with a really bad thunderstorm out there. You see tons of lightning. And I'll shift the camera around a little bit to hopefully look towards the south. Lots of lightning ongoing there. And strong thunderstorm winds are going to be just towards the east of that spot. The strongest winds and the hail, I think there's a hail core out here, quarter-size hail or larger, moving into West Little Rock as well. Again, this is going to have the threat of hail and the possibility for trees and power lines to be downed with this area of strong winds. The Weather Service keeping a close eye on it. The threat for a tornado, it's not there right now. It's all about damaging thunderstorm winds, and this storm has just been causing problems for us all night. Tornado was spawned at Lake Hamilton. Now this storm is moving into the Benton, Bryant, and Little Rock areas, and the worst part of this storm, Melinda, about to be off Colonel Glenn and 430 out there in West Little Rock.
Yeah, I mean, we've got big time wind coming in with this. Like you said, it is almost the equivalent of a small tornado. I wanted to show you the watch that is in effect, and it's mainly because of this environment that we have been under for a couple of days now. Hot, 90 degrees yesterday, humidity as well. So it doesn't take much of a disturbance, a little impulse for these storms to quickly grow to severe storms. And then when you get that, if it's strong enough, you can start to see some rotation. We are not seeing any of that now, but the very big thunderstorm is entering Pulaski County as we speak. This is the new tornado watch that was issued late last night, early this morning. Southwest Arkansas, not much of a threat for you. That was earlier in the overnight, but this continues right on up through Pulaski County and into northeastern Arkansas if we continue to see those storms for later this morning as well. Not something that we typically see in the overnight hours. In fact, 9, 10 o'clock last night, we were all looking at radar to see if any storms were going to form or not. And then quickly, about 11 o'clock, we started to see those little impulses, and that's when the tornado watch was issued as well as some tornado warnings for sections around Garland County. Let me take you back to radar to show you really the reason we wanted to come back on is because the storm really has strong winds. What we sometimes call a micro downburst over a relatively small area. These winds coming in and just spreading out over the ground. That can increase their speed, their forward speed. So it's at least 60 mile per hour winds, but it could be even more than that as this comes on in. So we've got Interstate 430. Good idea to stay off the roads. If you've got a nighttime job, early morning job to get to, you could just wait this one out. Even when I was just driving in about an hour ago, you could feel the wind as you were trying to drive your vehicle. But here's 430. Here is the interchange of 430 and I-30 there at Bass Pro and the outlets. So that is really where we're seeing those really gusty winds, as well as probably some small hail. That's no fun
Hey
to
Steve, can we
drive
do a
through.
storytelling?
This is going to continue to make its way, it looks like, into the I-630 corridor too. So it's getting very close there. We're starting to hear the thunder here in Riverdale, and starting to rain heavily as well in other parts of Pulaski County. So we're going to be watching this again. No rotation at all. This is not a tornado warning, but it is something to almost take as seriously as a tornado warning, because these winds are definitely strong, James.
All right, let's go to the iDrive Arkansas cameras. This is 4:30 out in West Little Rock. The visibility extremely low. Traffic moving very slow. It's heavy winds or high winds and heavy rain. We're going to kind of go down the I-40 430 interchange here. This is in the southwest section of Little Rock, where some of the heaviest rain and the strongest winds are falling. And struggling to get a camera loaded here, but you're waking up to the very, very loud lightning and thunder. And the worst part of this storm is now moving into southwest Little Rock. And this storm, I think, could have winds up to 70 miles per hour. There's another view. Lots of lightning. You still see lights from the car lot there on to the left are still on, but I do think scattered power outage is going to be very possible with this. And you see the traffic is moving at a snail's pace. Down towards Bryant, so we still have that part of the storm has not reached the Bryant area. See, it's a lot different there when you look further towards the southwest compared to what it looks like up on 430. The 430, 630 interchange, the Big Rock interchange, there's the view, and our Middleton weather camera there is down, but the iDrive Arkansas camera is still up. The storm continues there, and there's another look here if we can get the I-430 interchange to load. Camera may be down because of the strong winds and the heavy rain, which continues in that vicinity right now. I'm going to get you an update on power outages, but first I want to come back to Max 2, and I'll show you the cameras from West Little Rock. Heavy rain, high winds, and I'll eventually get to showing you what it looks like in downtown as we look off towards the west. The worst of this has not reached the downtown area yet, but it is headed this direction. And this is the camera from the Regents building, and I'm going to swing this back around to the west. And if there are any power flashes or anything like that with the strong winds, we'll be able to see that. This is, the storm has intensified since we last saw it in Saline County. And there it is, the kind of the wall of water, the wind headed this way. I really hope we can do without the power outages tonight, but I do think we are going to see some power outages. In fact, on the poweroutage.us website, right now we have about 9,000 without power. 8,000 of those are in Garland County, where we had a possible tornado earlier. Not seeing any Pulaski County power outages yet, but I do think it is possible that we have to deal with power outages here in Pulaski County as this downburst occurs out in West Little Rock, a very highly populated area.
Yeah, let's go back to radar just to show you why we are on the air, not because of a tornado warning. You may tune in and say, oh, they're really the only storm in the state happening right now, so it's not like this is going to last hours and hours. This storm may hold together, but it's going to push off towards the northeast, and we'll be tracking it through other counties. But again, the backside of this severe thunderstorm warning is right there at Benton. It continues from Saline County into Pulaski County and covers much of Saline County. Jacksonville, Scott, you're not seeing the storm yet, but you will eventually. So get ready for some heavy rain along with maybe some large hail. Some gusty winds definitely is what we're really seeing. So again, this is sort of two severe thunderstorm warnings. One that was in effect earlier, brought that storm just into Pulaski County, and then the large one that the National Weather Service issued well out in advance of it. So 4:30, heavy rain. I mean, it is just coming down, pelting I-430. This is Highway 5 as well, and then that interchange with I-30 there towards the Outlet Mall. So this is getting really heavy on I-630 too, so hard to drive there, hard to really see with this kind of rain. And then it's the wind that has us the most concerned, because that wind spreading out can be enough to bring down trees and power lines. We have not seen or heard that yet. Our power outages have not gone up here. Certainly hope we keep power, like you said, James, because it's warm outside.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to
the,
lose power. We could see 90 again today.
we
So,
just now off of 430 out in West Little Rock at the 630 interchange, 1,600 people have lost power in that area, and that is very close to Breckenridge and Walnut Valley. That's the area I'm talking about that's just lost power due to high winds. I'm sure we're going to see some more sporadic power outages. We'll go to Max 2. Steve, I want to service, and I'm getting reports of hail in West Little Rock. Some of it is as big as quarter size. Some of it looks a little bit smaller than that, but we are still dealing with hail within this storm. It's a big storm. I think the worst of the hail core is just near UALR, just north of I-30, and just south of downtown, where you see those purple colors there. Again, if you're just now joining us and waking up, we are not tracking a tornado, but we are tracking a very severe thunderstorm that is moving off towards the east-northeast. I'd hope to say that the tornado threat is done tonight, but I do think we'll at least have to watch for it. But this is a very, very severe storm. Just think about how humid it has been over the last couple of days. It's just enough that we are dealing with severe weather in the middle of the night, and when usually you would lose daytime heating, that is not happening tonight with this storm that's moving into the metro area. So large hail and high winds likely, especially from downtown and areas towards the south, but part of this storm is actually making it up north of the river into North Little Rock and Sherwood. But the strongest winds are towards Bryant, Shannon Hills, Mableville, Southwest Little Rock, and right now, Melinda, I'm getting a wind signature there along Interstate 30 at Mableville. That is some very strong wind right there off the freeway. In fact, I'm going to tell you what exactly it's measuring. It looks like we are getting... It looks like we're measuring 60-mile-per-hour winds just off the surface there at Mableville. So we're not far from the radar site, and so that is damaging winds that we are seeing there just off the surface. There's at least 30 to 40-mile-per-hour winds, and I bet there's winds that are going to be even stronger in that as this moves towards the east. I think the worst winds may stay south of downtown, but we just had power outages off towards the west that or just immediately west of downtown.
right, in the Pulaski County area. And then you also think about how much rain we've already had, so the soil is full of moisture. That makes those trees easier to topple over when you've got wind like this, when the ground is already wet, and you know how much rain we've had this week and over the weekend as well. So that saturated ground can really help those trees to fall over. The roots don't have as good a power to hold up those trees. So look at this rainfall that is now in Little Rock. Again, we've got I-430 there starting to decrease a little bit in intensity there, but it is raining along with likely some small hail on Interstate 30. So the Geyer Springs baseline corridors off of I-30 is where the strongest winds and the rain is just coming down so heavily, and this is going to continue. Here's the radar site. You can see it with that kind of donut hole up in North Little Rock. So this is getting very close to the radar site of the storm. Again, it's a severe thunderstorm. We are not on the air because there's any rotation at this time. If that changes, we'll of course be on and let you know. But it looks like this heavy rain is going to move right through downtown as well as Riverdale, where we are, and then eventually coming up here towards I-40. This is Interstate 40, as this is probably going to make its way across I-40, maybe just a little bit to the southeast of Jacksonville. Gusty winds, of course. James has been tracking those as well.
Yeah, that hail, heavy rain, and high winds on the south side of this storm, south of downtown, is no joke. I'm going to go back to one of our weather cams here in downtown. That is from the Regions building that we are looking at right there, and there's not much to see. From that level, we've got heavy rain falling, likely a little bit of large hail just south of downtown as well. Those purple returns there are what I'm estimating to be some large hail. It's hard to tell when you're this close to the radar, but it's certainly some heavy rain. This is approaching the Little Rock Airport, Wrightsville, and everybody on the south side of town. Again, the tornado threat was back in Garland County. This is a high wind and a hail threat. That's what we're starting the day with now, and I'm monitoring the Entergy Arkansas outage map, and I'm looking at the power outage numbers. We have about 8,000 without power in Garland County, and now the Pulaski County numbers are approaching 2,000 very quickly here. So we are having power outages and damage done within the city limits of Little Rock down towards Mableville, Shannon Hills, all those spots. This is a severe thunderstorm warning for high winds and hail. This is in effect until 3 a.m. This thing's picking up speed. It is moving towards the east, and it'll eventually get out of here, and then we turn our attention to more severe weather later on today. Getting a lot of reports now, a lot of video of hail and tree damage, and of course tornado damage from Garland County. Getting a lot of video there from Garland County, but I'm also getting hail video from West Little Rock with strong winds and a picture of power lines down as well. Melinda, it could be one of those days. We've got more weather to watch later today. This storm, I'd call it a rogue storm. The only storm that formed last night just before midnight, and it's tracked from Pike County all the way up through Garland County, Saline County, and now getting to Pulaski County. I do think the tornado threat is weakened, but strong damaging winds. If that happens to you, it's just as bad as a weak tornado.
Absolutely. I'm seeing pictures of a lot of metal buildings that have been damaged back in Garland County, where this same storm was showing signs of rotation. This is the one that, from everything we're seeing, produced likely a tornado in Garland County, caused some damage there around the Lake Hamilton area. Now a severe thunderstorm warning. We know everybody's on edge about tornado warnings, especially here in Little Rock from March 31st of last year. This is not that kind of a system, but it is enough to do the damage to power lines and trees. Large tree limbs can come down, and that seems to be what we're getting reports of this morning already in Pulaski County from the power outage numbers that are going up. Remember, if you do lose power, we continue to stream. If you've got power on your mobile device still, on the KTV News app, that's where we'll stream live. Also, if you have power to a laptop or something, katv.com/watch, you can continue to watch our coverage as well. Of course, KTV Weather app, the best thing to give you those warnings. All right, so here's radar. Here's the severe thunderstorm warning. It's a big one. It covers most of Pulaski County. It also will include the I-40 corridor. And it looks like I-40 north, up towards that 430 I-40 north, is definitely seeing some of that heavy rainfall as well. We know how heavily traveled that is. Highway 70 as well, getting in on some of that rain, but really that purple is where we're seeing the hail. And I'm seeing a lot of pictures of about pea-sized hail, but we know there's probably some larger hail embedded with that as well. So areas like Jacksonville, Cabot, along I-40 East, Hazen, Carlisle, get ready because this storm is headed into your area. Scott as well. You're kind of just on the edge of that really heavy rainfall moving in there. James.
All right, we're still tracking very heavy rain, strong thunderstorm winds that's in the downtown area and just south of downtown. I'm going to show you a view outside, and this is what it's looking like. Our camera is shaking. The wind continues. We'll have a measurement here from Adams Field momentarily on what exactly these winds are. We've got, of course, instruments at Adams Field that do measure wind. The storm's not quite there yet, but we'll have that for you here shortly. I do think we'll see at least 40 or 50 mile per hour wind gusts. This storm is moving a lot quicker than it was when it was over Garland County, and it has kind of picked up speed, so that's good. We're not just being left with dealing with this for long periods of time. It's going to get in and out of Pulaski County. It's now worked its way almost halfway through. Still thinking that large hail is going to be a threat with this as it moves east. And looking at the velocity data, I'd say the highest winds are just towards the south and southeast, and I think this is going to go pretty close to the airport. You see those bright red colors. It's not a tornado that we're tracking. Strong straight line winds. I think you could get a wind gust over 50 miles per hour, very possible with this, and I think many of you have already seen 30 or 40 mile per hour wind gusts, and based on the power outage numbers, which slowly continue to climb, I think we're going to have to continue to monitor that. Power outages for the state now just over 11,000. Garland County has most of those where we had an apparent tornado go through last here a couple hours ago. Pulaski County numbers now getting close to 1,700. This is a situation where sometimes a severe thunderstorm warning has to be treated like a tornado warning. If you are on the south side of Little Rock or over towards Scott, this may be a situation where it's not a bad idea to get into the interior of your home, especially if your home is surrounded by trees with a storm like this that's coming through, because this kind of storm can down trees and power lines, and if a tree is close to your home and falls on your home, that's a very bad deal. So interior room in your home, especially as this moves through the southeast side of Little Rock off 440, College Station over to Scott, Galloway even, and then as we get into Lonoke County. I think high winds continue with this. Very soon we're going to know exactly what this storm is doing. We'll have a measurement from Little Rock Airport, of course, staying in contact with the Weather Service and everyone else. Looks like 52 knot wind gust at the Little Rock Airport. So that, Melinda, that's very close to severe. 59 miles per hour is severe winds. That's what this is doing. And that type of wind can down trees or power lines. Not all of them, but there's going to be sporadic tree and power line damage across, I think, south and southwest Little Rock.
That's right. It doesn't take a tornado to down trees and power lines. Sometimes a storm just like this will do that. I did want to take you a little back further in the overnight hours, though. This picture came to us earlier from Garland County. This is Lake Hamilton, and you can see the picture from Alex DeGrasse showing what looks to be a funnel cloud, a tornado, and we are getting reports of some structural damage around the Lake Hamilton area. So apparently we did likely see a touchdown. We have a crew on the way to the Lake Hamilton area to check out the damage there as well. So this is the same storm. It has the potential to rotate again, but right now it is not doing that, so we are thankful for that. Of course, we welcome any pictures that you have. Stay safe, though, as you go out to get those. Wanted to show you the tornado watch, which is in effect. The National Weather Service issued this as these storms started to develop, just because in this very warm and unstable environment that we are in, the atmosphere is just primed for these storms when they do form to quickly become severe. And if you get any that are not in a line like this one, it's kind of all out by itself. Sometimes those can show signs of rotation. So the tornado watch is in effect for most of the metro area. It's just sort of the center section of the state. Although, Searcy, you are also in this, although you don't have storms yet. This one could move close to you, and then it continues on up into northeast Arkansas, and that is in effect until 6 a.m. We're hoping that we get a break from severe weather for a while today, and we know that, again, there is a risk going into this afternoon and tonight, and likely we'll have another tornado watch issued for that nighttime system tonight, and we do expect that one to probably be the strongest of what we've seen all this week with really this multi-day event that we've been seeing. James?
All right, we continue to track power outages numbers. A big chunk of power outages just showed up just now in the southwest side of Little Rock, right where we were tracking those high winds moving through Mableville. That's where a lot of those power outages have just shown up. So that's going to take our outage number up to 18,000. That's 8,000 without power now in Pulaski County. And as we look at the radar, those strong winds, 60 mile per hour wind gusts just now moving through the Little Rock Airport. So more power outages on the way for the downtown area, the North Little Rock side along Highway 70, and down towards College Station in central Pulaski County. It's a high wind machine. That's what this is. We're not dealing with a tornadic threat, but the result is the same. We're still dealing with high winds, tree damage, power lines down, and if I can show you again what it's looking like outside, this is the view from the Regions camera. The view not quite as bad as it was. Now that the storm is beginning to pass this area, we're not dealing with as low a visibility, but for those of you that are south and east of downtown, looking at the velocity data, we're still getting very strong winds, and may even, I think we're starting to get a little bit of rotation.
Yeah, Terry locking down.
Along the leading edge of that line, yeah, and this happens sometimes along the leading edge of these lines. We can get a little bit of rotation, and that's what we're getting right here. So we may see, and again, it's not a weak tornado, straight line wind damage. It's almost the same. So I hope everybody is treating this severe thunderstorm warning like a tornado warning, but this is going to move east towards Scott, and we have seen these situations before where you'll get a little tornado developing in a line of storms on the east side of a line of storms like this on the east side of Little Rock. So there is some rotation there that we're watching. That's moving towards Scott. On the north side of that, severe thunderstorm winds have just been observed at the Little Rock Airport. So, of course, we'll be monitoring to see if the tornado warning goes back into effect with this. It's extremely high winds, 60, 70 mile per hour winds with this. Entergy Arkansas outage map, I continue to update that. and they are dealing with outages mainly in Garland and Pulaski counties. Garland County due to a tornado, Pulaski County due to straight line winds. The outages are approaching 20,000 now. So that is going to be something that we have to deal with tomorrow. And Melinda, we've got to message severe weather possibly tomorrow, and some people won't even have power.
Yeah, and that's something that certainly we don't like to see without power on it. What's going to be a very hot day too, out ahead of the new severe weather threat that we're expecting for this evening. I want to show you we now have a flash flood warning that is in effect. No surprise with the heavy rain that's been coming down. This is for sections of eastern Saline County, in the Chenal Mountain area, into western Pulaski County, and then continues with this very heavy rainfall moving through Little Rock right now. So flash flood warning in effect there. And at night, flash flooding is really the worst scenario because you can't see that the road is covered ahead of you. So if you come to some area where it looks like it is covering the roads, be sure and go around, don't drown. We definitely want you to stay safe. And then our severe thunderstorm warning, still a severe thunderstorm warning at this time. The National Weather Service says they are looking at a little bit of weak rotation within this storm, but so far I think they're just kind of looking at a few more scans to see if it looks like that rotation is near the surface. It can be in the upper levels and not really be forming a tornado, but sometimes you get one of these just big areas of heavy rain, a storm moving in, and you can get little kinks in that line. And sometimes that's where you're starting to see some rotation. But at this time, it's just a severe thunderstorm warning. But as we said, this area right here, those winds are as strong as a small tornado can be. And when you have really a line of storms like this, it can cover a larger area than a tornado will. So that's continuing to move on I-40 now, east of Little Rock. It looks like this is probably going to go on over into Lonoke County pretty soon. James?
It does, and I would say the area of rotation closing in on Scott a little bit more concerning now. I think we could eventually see this area of rotation produce a weak tornado, and I will circle that for you. That's what we're watching right there. It's a little kink in the line, and there's very strong winds approaching the radar, and there's inflow winds on the leading edge of that line. That's what is approaching now eastern Pulaski County. Now, at bare minimum, what we're watching here is strong winds pushing out as we go into eastern Pulaski and eventually Lonoke County. That's headed towards Lonoke, Pettis, and most areas that are in central Lonoke County. So we're expecting high winds with that. We can't rule out a brief tornado either. It's very common to see brief tornadoes in situations like this. There's the view of the storm. This big thunderstorm continues to now pick up speed and move southeast. The flash flood warning, of course, was added to the Little Rock area. Statewide, the only storm in the state tonight has been this storm that's tracked from Pike through Garland, Saline, into Pulaski counties. This is it. So when we say 20% chance of rain, there was one storm, and this is the storm that's doing all the damage tonight. It's produced a tornado. We're now getting quarter-sized hail at the Little Rock Airport, so hail remains a threat with this, and you see those purple colors there? That is Bill and Hillary Clinton National Airport, and that is where hail is being reported at this time. So you're likely seeing hail, high winds, and there's weak rotation there on the line that is approaching Scott, and we could see no tornado warnings in effect. At some point, we could see a brief tornado along the edge of the line as it moves towards the east. This storm now, and I'll just continue to update you on the power outage numbers because it's going to, that number is probably just going to continue to climb. Right now, still over 18,000, pretty much about half of those are in Garland County. The other half of those are in Saline County, or not Saline County, Pulaski County. Saline County really is on low on that outage list. The largest area of power outages, it looks like, is in the Mableville area, down in southwest Little Rock. On both sides of I-30, there's another large area of power out in the area of Rodney Parham and 430 Breckenridge, Walnut, just to the east of Walnut Valley there. It looks like some new power outages are showing up around the airport where they did measure a 60-mile-per-hour wind gust. This area of winds continues to advance towards the east very quickly. This severe thunderstorm warning looks like it's going to remain in effect for a little while longer. That's storm's now picked up speed, now moving at almost 40 miles per hour. It's almost twice the speed we were seeing with the storm when it was back in Garland County. If you're in the path of this storm, I want you to treat it like a tornado warning. Just get away from windows, get to the interior of a house, and again, especially if you have trees or something like that on the edge of your house or property. This is not, right now, not tornadic storm that we're watching, but just straight line winds, and we've gotten numerous power outages due to that, lots of hail, and a 59-mile-per-hour wind gust that just came through the Little Rock Airport.
Mobile homes, metal buildings do not handle these kinds of storms with this kind of wind very well either. So yeah, good idea to get to a safe place and really treat this like a small tornado, because sometimes you can get the same damage, and you can see it's over a much larger area where those strong 59, 60-mile-per-hour winds are coming through. So again, here's the severe thunderstorm warning that covers much of Pulaski County. We're going to continue to watch as this moves on towards the northeast very quickly now at about 40 miles per hour. So we'll see if a new severe thunderstorm warning is issued out ahead of it. Again, the National Weather Service is just really watching this line, because sometimes you can see just little small places where you can get some rotation on a big storm line like this. And they were watching a little bit towards the College Station area. So far have not pulled the trigger on an actual tornado warning, so not seeing definite rotation towards the ground at the lower levels. So that's what that tells us. Flash flood warning for Little Rock all the way back into parts of Saline County. The rain has let up for you folks in Saline County. Benton, Bryant, not as heavy as it was, but once you get over here towards Shannon Hills and East End, still very heavy rain along with some wind, but really kind of that I-440 corridor. You mentioned the Little Rock Airport getting about a 60-mile-per-hour gust there as you head out 440 towards the airport. And then even on I-40 too, and we know the big trucks, a lot of traffic there, seeing heavy rain and probably some small hail. Most of the pictures I'm seeing about pea-sized to quarter-sized hail coming through with this system. But gusty winds, it's the kind of wind that's blowing the rain sideways on the roadway. So if you can wait out this storm, it's really the only one happening this morning in the state, then it will be much better a little bit later on today. Good that we're getting through this maybe this morning before traffic does get busier for the morning commute later today. 7 and 9 o'clock, we wouldn't want to have a lot of traffic in this system. Flash flood warning though remains in effect. We could be seeing some streets that are covered with water, so please be careful of that as well. I'm going to show you the tornado watch that is in effect, and this was issued as these storms started to form in the overnight hours. So you may have went to bed last night and said, wait a minute, there wasn't a tornado watch for today. For this morning, we are expecting likely one to be issued later today or tonight for that storm system, that Wednesday evening storm system. But this is until 6 a.m. and really just for this cell, or if there are some others that start to form, those could show some signs of rotation. And this is until 6 o'clock this morning. And you can see how quickly the National Weather Service expects this threat from these morning storm systems to move out by 6 o'clock. And we should already be up here in northeast Arkansas, if not before. But right now we're seeing it. Northwest Arkansas, out not in the watch. Southeast Arkansas just kind of moves right through the center part of the state. James?
I'm just watching this line of storms to see if there's any chance that tornadoes may develop along the line. I still think this is mainly a wind producer, but still, I'm noticing areas of weak rotation from Scott down towards the south, and the National Weather Service still watching those area rotations, but I do think the severe thunderstorm warning covers the threat nicely. High winds, large hail. We're hearing lots of thunder here at the station here in Riverdale. The worst of the storm is now through Little Rock and West Little Rock, and you are free to go to bed. Benton, Bryant, West Little Rock, Chenal, all those spots, free to go to bed. Even Mableville, the worst of it is now well to your east. The worst of it is now getting into far eastern Pulaski County and western Lonoke County, and the area of highest winds extends from Wrightsville up through Scott and up into eastern sections of North Little Rock and the eastern sections of Sherwood. And this storm continues to just push right to the east, producing high winds as it does so. We think that the tornado threat going forward is not very high, but you have to watch stuff like this that's kind of embedded within the line, where you have wind approaching the radar right here and right here and right there. There's a couple of little spots that we have to watch where you could have brief tornadoes. I'll be looking at debris detector just to see if we can capture anything with regards to tornado potential, and fortunately I don't see anything. So there's no debris being lofted into the air, but there's definitely weak rotation occurring in the vicinity of Scott. So if you're in that area, we were talking about it, high winds, a weak tornado, high winds, basically the same. You can still get tree damage, power line damage. Metal buildings do not fare well in this type of situation. And we know high winds are occurring. That's measured at the Little Rock Airport. Down towards the south, the Weather Service is keeping an eye on an area down towards Hensley. I was saying, just noticed that a hook echo is trying to develop there east of Hensley, though on velocity, that area near Hensley is not impressive on the velocity scans. So that's good. I think the more impressive winds are up towards the north and have moved through, well, now most of the Little Rock area. When I've seen just most of our power outages have come from the big section in the southwest side of Little Rock, and that's where most of the power outages occurred on either side of I-30 down at Mableville. This storm now getting very close to the Lonoke-Pulaski County line. It's going to roll eastward. Linda, I think at some point these storms are going to diminish. It may be close to sunrise by the time they do.
It may be, but we'll be here covering those. It looks like a new severe thunderstorm warning, perhaps just issue, taking that storm a little bit further to the east. Want to kind of give you a look ahead because we're not done, folks. We've been talking about Wednesday, and this is just the very beginning of Wednesday. For that severe risk for especially late this afternoon into tonight. So almost all of the state under an enhanced risk of storms as that round comes through later tonight. This could go into the late night hours tonight and even Thursday morning. Glad to see that the moderate risk, at least for now, is not over us. A very tiny portion of far northeast Arkansas is included in that, but for now, the Storm Prediction Center, right, really kind of looking up into northeast Arkansas. I think that's my alarm you used to get up today.
I got it.
Okay, thank you. That's usually when I'm getting in to come in for our 4:30 show. Yeah, so let me show you some of the risks that we are talking about as we head into tonight, this evening, and we know that probably there's going to be a lot of you without power because of these storms that have come through today. So high wind gusts, high probability of 1 to 2 inch hail, and the tornado threat is there, just like it is this morning, just because it is so unstable. So that's almost a low to medium threat for the storms that come through tonight. So this is again in the afternoon hours into the evening hours. So another one that we're going to be watching very closely for you. I'm checking the energy map as well. We are up to almost 19,000 customers without power. About 8,000 of those are in the Garland County area, where it looks like we've had a tornado touchdown, and then 8,000 just from the severe thunderstorm that has been moving through Pulaski County. We also have about 8,000 power outages here. So here's a look at that severe thunderstorm warning, a new one that has been issued that takes this on into sections of Lonoke County, Carlisle, Humanoke. You're also included in this, much of the I-40 corridor, as that line right there. Very heavy rain, a gusty wind, 60 miles per hour, continues to march on towards the east. But it does look like the back edge is moving through Little Rock right now, or moving out of Little Rock right now, James.
Yes, it is, and now there's a new severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect for this is most of Lonoke County, and especially areas along I-40 and just towards the south. Now, we're starting to get something that's pretty concerning as far as weak tornado potential goes. You're starting to get where this is not just a solid line, there's little indentions in the line, and that is how you get brief tornadoes along the line. So if you're in Lonoke County, and this has happened so many times in our state's history, where a line segment will go through Little Rock and begin producing tornadoes as it hits the fields and the flat ground east of town. So that's what we're going to be watching. In addition to the high wind threat is the isolated tornado threat as we're getting to the east of town here. England, Coy, Pettis, Humnoke, all these places in southern Lonoke County. Get away from windows. High winds are incoming. We've got measured 60-mile-per-hour winds with this storm as it has moved through Pulaski County. And I mean, you could see it right here, and I think we're going to have this line may at least attempt to produce tornado. You've got a little indention right there that looks like this is an area of rotation that we're going to have to watch that's moving towards Pettis. Now, good news about these areas of rotation is they don't last long. They can produce tornadoes. They are usually quick. But that's an area of rotation that we're going to have to watch. And yeah, there it is. It's a little bit stronger. So go ahead. If you were in Pettis, go ahead and take tornado precautions if you're in Pettis. Central Lonoke County. This is going to be south of Lonoke, but I think this is one that we're going to have to watch right here. The last couple of scans, it has strengthened. And I think this is now out of Pulaski County. This is east of Scott. But I think we could be getting a developing tornado now in western Lonoke County. So this is embedded in an area of very high winds as well. All these locations, from Keogh, England, Pettis. I mean, don't just focus on the part of the storm that's got a little bit of rotation. All these areas have high winds, but as you see, this is how it happens. An area of high winds surges forward, and then you've got another area that's starting to rotate back on the backside of that, and that's how you end up with rotation there just north of Keogh. The overall storm, I mean, it still looks like a mean storm. Racing east, it's got hail in it. It's got very high winds. The severe thunderstorm warning includes far northern sections of Jefferson County, but most of the storm is staying off towards the north. This is really Lonoke County that is getting the worst of this, and we just had a big area of power outages occur in Pulaski County. 8,800 out of power in Pulaski County, and no outages reported so far yet in Lonoke County, of course, because this storm is just now moving into Lonoke County. But I imagine this storm has the capability to knock out power as it moves further towards the east. Of course, if you ever safely take pictures of weather that are happening, you can send them to KETV.com/chime-in, or you can send them to our Facebook inboxes, again, safely. Never risk your life to get a picture. We've gotten several pictures of damage in the Hot Springs area, and we have Emma Allen is on the way. She's from that area in Garland County, spends a lot of time down there, is very familiar with the areas that have been hit and damaged by the tornado. We're going to have a live report coming up here at 4:30 when daybreak begins. And we have a crew upstairs, even at this hour, working the phones, Melinda, and getting ready for daybreak. I think, unfortunately, Melinda, I do think we may have a tornado warning coming for central Lonoke County here shortly. I want everyone near Pettis to take their tornado precautions.
Yeah, go ahead and treat that as a tornado warning in the Pettis area, because we're seeing what could be a little bit of a sign of rotation. Want to show you the severe thunderstorm warning, though. This is in effect until 3:45. I was just looking at what the National Weather Service has to say about this one. Moving to the east at 30 miles per hour, so it has slowed down just a little bit, but just like the one that covered much of Pulaski County, this one covers much of Lonoke County, because this line is just so long, really kind of covers from county to county with those gusty winds and that heavy rain. And they are advising from the National Weather Service there could even be golf ball sized hail within this storm, and that would sort of be where you're seeing some of those darker reds and purple colors. That's just to the south of Pettis. Let me zoom in just a little bit and show it to you. It really stretches all the way from I-40, from Pulaski County and Lonoke County, through Carlisle, down through Pettis, and that's counting out. You see, it's not just a solid line. You're sort of seeing these little, there we go, James. Looks like that new tornado warning has now been issued. And Pettis, this is definitely the time to take cover. We'll zoom in a little bit and show you that on Highway 15, Highway 70, right through Pettis there in Lonoke County. So it is time to get to your safe place there in parts of Lonoke County, James.
Yeah, okay, this tornado warning is going to go for the next 30 minutes, so that's going to take us to 3:30 a.m. These tornadoes generally are brief, but this is including central Lonoke County, areas south of Lonoke along Arkansas Highway 31. This tornado warning actually does include Carlisle as this moves off towards the east, but sometimes these things can move northeast as well. So it includes a pretty large area of Lonoke County there. I've circled the area of rotation that we're watching. And as I put it in motion, you can really see it begin to wrap up over the last couple of minutes. So what we're looking at now is an area of rotation that's right over Coleman and Cheney Road, and that is headed directly for Pettis. We'll look at debris detector to see if we can detect anything that is on the ground, and fortunately, there is nothing there that says debris is being lofted way up into the air. So that's good, but we definitely have this part of the line that's rotating. And generally, what you will see is this will continue to increase as it moves east. It will produce a tornado for a few minutes, and then it will weaken. I think we're in the process of possibly seeing the strengthening part of this. So if you're in Pettis, north of Red Wine Road, and of course I called out some of the other streets to the west, but if you're on Bledsoe Road, Bennett Road, Carroll Road, Anderson Road off towards the northeast, and Bob Long Road, Whedon Cemetery, all those spots. If you're just anywhere close to them in central Lonoke County, get to a safe spot. Hopefully you had a way to get warnings. I know when many of you went to bed last night, the last thing you thought we'd be getting tonight would be a tornado warning in the metro area. We had a tornado. I think we may be getting another one here with this that's in Lonoke County. Pettis is in the immediate path of this storm along Arkansas Highway 31. We'll be getting another scan here soon to see if it continues to strengthen, and it has. It is definitely continuing to strengthen. Pettis, make sure you're in your tornado safe place. We got an area of rotation that's moving straight towards you. Cheney Road, Bennett Road, Bledsoe Road, Whedon Cemetery Road, all right there in the direct path. And this is quickly moving northeast. Again, the tornadoes don't last long when they're embedded in lines like this, but they're tornadoes. And we've seen a lot of wind damage occur in Pulaski County, and now I think we may be seeing a possible tornado develop there in central Lonoke County. Again, this is going to be south of the city of Lonoke, but if you're asleep in Carlisle, you did get those alerts on your phone, and you probably wondering, was the tornado going to come to Carlisle? I think it's going to stay to your south, but with this line of storms headed your way, it's not a bad idea to get ready to go to a tornado shelter. Melinda?
Yeah, I've got a track on that tornado warning for you right now, just to kind of show you the times that that part of the storm would be close to you. So 311 Pettis, there is really no time to wait. You are the closest community to this possible tornado. 337, if it continues in that direction, Carlisle, that's when that part of the storm will reach you. But right now, it looks like the rotating part of that storm would move maybe just a little bit to the south. And then about 356 for Hazen, which is a little bit further to the east. Not a whole lot of communities in here to come up on our storm track. But let me show you some of the highways, of course. We have Highway 381. That is just a little bit to the east of Pettis, right through Pettis. That is the Highway 31 that continues right through that part of the state. So we'll zoom in a little bit to kind of show you that part of the storm. Because again, this is a dangerous situation. The National Weather Service detecting has been really watching weak rotation with this part of the storm for a while, but now it's seen enough close to the surface that that's the reason that we've had this tornado warning issue. So Highway 31 and Red Wine Road in the community of Pettis. Some of the other roads, Lynn Road as well. If you live in any of these small communities there in Lonoke County, time to take cover right now. James?
I was just looking at some of the data for later today, Melinda, and it looks like this is just the start of a long day for us in this state. The area of rotation, though, right now that we are watching that's immediately dangerous is what's approaching Pettis. I think we have an area of strong rotation and very well could be seeing a tornado getting ready to drop near Pettis. And I'll pause this and we'll go again at some of the roads. Cheney Road, Bob Long Road, Malone Lake Road, right there into Pettis along Arkansas Highway 31. That is the area of greatest concern. And again, we have what's called a debris detector. It can detect if debris is being thrown into the air. And right now, fortunately, I don't detect anything. But that's just one tool we use. So take your tornado precautions. If this thing does produce a tornado, we want you to be in a safe place. Outside of the tornadic part of the storm, this is a very dangerous storm that's been producing high winds and will continue to do so as it moves towards the east. Almost like it's a little bow echo. You see kind of that backwards C shape. It's producing very high winds, likely producing some hail north of Keogh. And looking at the National Weather Service, I think as long as this rotation is present, they're going to be focused on that storm. I do want to mention, though, power outage numbers continue to stay steady at 18,000. So that's good news. Perhaps maybe some of this storm lost a bit of its punch as far as winds as it was coming out of the Little Rock area. But I'm looking specifically at power outage numbers. I see scattered power outages in Scott, west of Wrightsville, but I don't see large, huge areas of power outage. I see scattered power outages. But as we're going further into Lonoke County, England, over to Humnoke, Pettis, central Lonoke County. Aside from the threat of an isolated tornado, we could be seeing high winds move into your area. We're about to the point in the life cycle of this area of rotation where I think it's going to produce a tornado or it's going to begin to weaken. One of the two. It's just to the north of Pettis, and the area of strongest rotation is near Pettis Road and Malone Lake Road, right on Arkansas Highway 31. And that is the strongest part of the storm. Again, behind that line, looks like we may be seeing high winds push through that as well. Melinda, not a good situation. Weak or not, this is a nighttime tornado event that we have gotten ourselves into with the tornado at Lake Hamilton and now the tornado warning in Lonoke County.
Yeah, and with heavy rain with these storms, they're really hard to see as well. So, yeah, no need to go out there and try to look to see it. It's what we call rain wrapped. Can be very dangerous because you can't see the tornado, but sometimes from radar you can tell that it is in there. I wanted to put another track on this possible tornado producing storm, 3:17 a.m. This is going to be right at Pettis, followed by 3:55 at Hazen. It looks like the track takes this between Carlisle and Humnoke. So if it stays on its current path through Pettis, on through other sections of Lonoke County, not heavy populated, that will continue to move towards the east at about 30 miles per hour. Eventually, if that holds together, that could come up towards Hazen near the I-40 corridor. Has that tornado warning been reconfigured a little bit?
Yeah, they've just cut the western edge of it off there. Looks a little bit more like it's now wind kind of pushing through there, maybe a little bit lower of a tornado risk, but still could see a brief tornado along the leading edge of this line, and certainly some high winds.
Yeah, looks like west of Pettis, not really much of a threat anymore. So it does continue those highways that we mentioned, Highway 31 near Pettis. I'm going to take that track off just so that we can see some of those roads just a little bit better because you folks there know these highways, and we want to kind of let you know exactly where the rotation possibly is. So again, Highway 31 through Pettis. That goes on up to Lonoke. For Lonoke, you are not in this tornado warning. You are in the severe thunderstorm warning, which surrounds the tornado warning, and that too has gusty winds, hail, and very heavy rainfall. Highway 13, it is not to you yet if you live off of that corridor, but it is headed in your direction. So Highway 13 that goes on up towards Carlisle, you are included in this. And Carlisle, a good idea to head to your safe place as well. Even if the actual part of the storm that shows rotation moves to the south of you, which it looks like that could be the case, then you might not see the rotation, but you're still going to get the very strong winds that are really embedded in the storm all the way through Lonoke County. So getting reports of winds exceeding 60 miles per hour in this storm system that is continuing to move through Lonoke County. We'll back out a little bit. If you're joining us this morning, the storms developed in southwest Arkansas, and they have continued to move through areas like Garland County, where perhaps we have had some tornado damage. Then just a big severe thunderstorm that moved through Pulaski County over the last hour. We've got getting close to 9,000 power outages now in Pulaski County. That has decreased in intensity, but this storm continues to move through Lonoke County. A flash flood warning still in effect for much of Pulaski County as well. But again, the area of most concern right here in Lonoke County from Pettis eastward through Highway 381 and then also Highway 13. Anyone living in those areas, in some of those rural areas, James, they need to take cover.
I'm getting reports. I've got a couple of people out and about in Pulaski County. We've got flooding ongoing in North Little Rock, trees down in Bryant and in Benton, just tree limbs all over the place. A lot of leaves being stripped from the trees just because of the strength of this thunderstorm. The worst wind damage, I think, has occurred down in southwest Little Rock, where we've had the most power outages. The power outages have climbed to above 19,000. And now we're watching the storm that's got a possibility of the high winds and an isolated tornado. I do think we're watching now two areas of rotation. We're watching the area of rotation north of Pettis, which has now started to weaken, but now there are two more areas of rotation that are starting to form there on the really just in the central part of Lonoke County. That's how it works with these lines of storms. You just kind of have to watch for areas of rotation along the line, and I think right now the area of strongest rotation may actually be well towards the southeast of Pettis, actually just to the west of Hamilton. That's why we say everybody in this line be ready to seek shelter because the whole line is bringing high winds. And you can actually see the shape of this line kind of looks a little bit like a backwards C. It's kind of folded forward there in the middle. What that actually is the winds are pushing through right there. And so that's where you're having the highest winds push through right there at Pettus. Whether it's a weak tornado or strong straight line winds, I think that's where we're seeing the 50 and 60 mile per hour wind gusts. That's where we should see power outages or the possibility of trees down, and the velocity data bears this out. Really just south of Pettus, there's some very strong winds ongoing as well. Next up, Carlisle, high winds are likely, and especially towards the south, Hamilton, Coy, and Humnoak. All those locations going to be impacted. The tornado warning, I think they're going to probably let it stay in effect, Melinda, because whether it's a tornado warning or severe thunderstorm warning in the case of this morning, I think the impacts are about the same.
Yeah, like you were explaining, with a big storm like this, we can have numerous areas that start to show weak rotation, cause little spin-ups along the line. Sometimes we hesitate to use the word spin-ups because you don't take it seriously, but we need to take this seriously because it definitely has the capacity for forming a tornado. So this is the actual tornado warning that is in effect from back towards Pettus all the way almost to Highway 86 included in that tornado warning. But really kind of watching even this line that comes on back west of Hamilton, way back to the west of Humnoak. I think we got to watch that coming out of England as well. And typically the types of tornadoes, if they do form along a line like this, they don't last long. They're typically not the big supercell kinds of tornadoes that we typically see. But yeah, anywhere along this line, you should treat this as a tornado because of the winds that are so strong, coming through at 60 miles per hour, enough to down trees and power lines. And we've seen this storm do that even when it did not have a tornado warning with it. So numerous trees and power lines down in the Pulaski County area, as well as back into Saline County, Garland County, when this at times was just a severe thunderstorm, because that needs to be taken seriously as well. I'm going to stop the radar so that we can show you exactly where the storm is now. We'll look at the current radar. We'll zoom in, kind of give you a closer idea of the areas where it is headed. There's the latest scale from our radar. So we're looking at Pettus all the way towards Highway 381, due north and south, goes on up towards, let's see, that is I-40, of course, and the Highway 13 corridor, which moves between Carlisle and near Hamilton. That is the area we're talking about where we could see some rotation. We're starting to see some of these purple colors as well, indicating possibly some large hail. And we have seen the storm produce that. It's really producing all forms of severe weather. We've got the high winds, we've got the hail, and a possible rotation within this line from Pettus over towards Highway 13. Carlisle, right now, it looks like that part of the storm would move just to the south of you between Carlisle and Hamilton, for their radar is now indicating some rotation within that line. Look at this hail that is possibly coming down south of Pettus, right on Highway 31 as well.
Yeah.
And that's definitely some large hail through just to the south of Red Wine Road. Daniels Road also seeing probably some large hail too. James?
All right, well, there's the area of high winds and hail that looks like it's south of Pettus. Also, a new area of developing rotation to the west of Hamilton. The entire storm, dangerous. You definitely want to be indoors, away from windows and away from trees if you can. The area of rotation, I think we'll just continue to see rotation develop along this line until this storm begins to weaken. But yeah, Melinda, we were just saying that we're getting some really high returns on this storm, and I do think there's some hail, possibly quarter size, falling in this. Good news is I haven't seen the hail get to be too large, but it certainly is does look like there is some falling in there. Again, looking across the state, this has been it. This one area of storms, this one complex of storms that developed near Glenwood, moved through Pike County, and then into Saline, Pulaski, and now Lonoke County.
They have canceled the tornado warning
Okay.
for Lonoke.
So the tornado warning's been canceled. We're going to have to just stay with it and see if there's another area of rotation that develops west of Hamilton. Regardless, again, weak tornado or high winds, impacts generally about the same in this case. Entergy Arkansas does cover a large number of customers in Lonoke County, and I'm still noticing sporadic power outages, not widespread power outages at least. It does look like there is now widespread outages at Scott. There's 291 more customers without power there at Scott. It's actually more than that, it's several hundred without power there, and so that's going to bring the total in Arkansas now over 19,000 as that number continues to climb. You know, Lonoke County back in July or June this past year had a big windstorm move through there that did claim 2 lives in Carlisle when a tree fell on a home. So it's very important on a storm like this to take it seriously. Falling trees are a real danger in storms like this. We've got a little bit of rotation to watch west of Hamilton, but the entire storm is producing high winds, and that is a big deal with a storm like this.
Yeah, we know the National Weather Service is watching all along this line for any signs of rotation, but the reason that this is such a big severe thunderstorm warning that covers most of Lonoke County is because anywhere along this line we can have severe winds, we can have severe hail, which is 1 inch in diameter or greater, and we can have spin up some of those areas of rotation. But the tornado warning we've been talking about for a while for Pettis and points eastward has been canceled. So that's at least good, but it doesn't mean to let your guard down. So really anywhere, I would say from Carlisle down to Hamilton to Humboldt, back into England, treat this as a tornado warning and get to your safe place because this could quickly develop again. But right now, severe thunderstorm warning. Pettis, it looks like the rain is just beginning to decrease for you, but just off to the south and east of Pettis, we've got some very heavy rain as well as likely some large hail that is coming through. England, same story for you. There's Highway 165, and then over towards Humanoak. Really, that big storm is headed in your direction. And then on down the line, Hazen on I-40. Any travel on I-40, probably not a good thing right now east of Little Rock until this storm gets pushed perhaps on towards the east and hopefully weakens as it does. But this one storm has just kept going for several hours since it moved first into southwest Arkansas. It is the one that we believe spawned a tornado in the Garland County area around Lake Hamilton and continues to be a big storm there in Lonoke County. James?
So I'm watching an area of rotation near Hamilton and Hamilton Loop. I think that's just a very weak rotation kind of embedded within an area of higher winds. No tornado warning is in effect for that right now, but I'm just kind of pointing out an area where we could see a brief tornado in addition to the high winds which are pushing out through this storm. This storm is going to continue east. There's a couple of additional showers and thunderstorms now developing in advance of this. Kind of is starting to take a more eastwardly or maybe southeastwardly jog there, heading more towards Humnoak and now maybe putting Stuttgart in the path of this rather than areas further towards the north like Des Arc or Brinkley. So the severe thunderstorm warning just trimmed there. Pulaski County all clear. Pulaski County all clear. Nope, we have some thunderstorms ongoing, but the severe risk is completely over. We are now dealing with the storm that's just almost exclusively in Lonoke County, and this is going to be moving towards the southeast, and I think this is coming into Humnoak. Hamilton, especially about to be getting some of the worst winds, maybe some hail, and there's, I think, enough there to be concerned about a little bit of rotation there coming into Hamilton. Melinda, we can take some time here over the next 10 to 15 minutes to kind of break down what we expect later today. We've been on the air almost continuously since midnight, but late today, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, I think we're going to have to redo all this, except the storms are expected to be more numerous.
Yeah, this is one storm that has kept us occupied for several hours. You know, you've been here, of course, since yesterday, James. But the good news is still just a severe thunderstorm warning. We say just, but this is a strong severe thunderstorm warning, and it does carry over into far western Prairie County, also included in this warning because these are moving pretty quickly now towards the east. But heavy rainfall at Carlisle, all the way down towards England, and right now the National Weather Service with no tornado warning issued for this storm, but this is going to continue as well towards Stuttgart, kind of on the south end of this, and a few of those areas that are starting to pop up with thunderstorms out ahead of this main line. We're also seeing that up towards Des Arc. Here in Pulaski County, I know that probably woke up a lot of people. We now just have a flash flood warning in effect. The rain is much lighter than it was, but it came down so heavily, so quickly. And of course, we're saturated. You've been in your backyard, you know how wet it is. So kind of nowhere for this water to go. So we're still seeing rain through the Little Rock area, up towards Maumelle as well. Benton and Bryant looking a whole lot better for you than it was just 30 minutes ago. So if you were up watching this, you can probably safely go to bed until it's time for you to get up for your day. Heavy rain as well in southern sections of Pulaski County, of course, through Lonoke County, where the severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect. And if that continues, that would move on into Prairie County next. This is I-40. Carlisle right there, kind of in the center of where that really heavy rain is. But sort of these pink colors down here indicating where the strongest part of the storm is moving through. Definitely getting, some little curls, some little areas with bow echoes there on the southern end of the storm line, James.
Yeah, man.
Right there.
That's more wind. It's still the area of rotation I was tracking near Hamilton looks very weak, and hopefully it stays that way. The Weather Service not issuing any updates other than to say the storm's producing high winds, and there's a couple other disorganized thunderstorms on the far south end of that line. Starting to see what we call outflow, which is what is initiating these storms in advance of this. That would lower the tornado threat and also hopefully begin the long process of beginning to weaken this storm, because when basically you have a rush of cool air out of the storm, it's hard to get warm, humid air back into the storm. So that's what I hope the process is that we're starting right now. We did get a report of 1.5-inch hail from Blakemore. Power also out in that area. Arkansas power outages holding just shy now of 20,000. And this is going to be, I think this storm, it's eventually going to run out of gas as it moves towards the east and southeast. I do think this is going to, though, it's not moving directly east or northeast anymore. Now starting to kind of take a jog towards the southeast. So let's take this through Stuttgart, Elmira, and this is going to be in Stuttgart at about 3:45. So we've got a little bit of time before it gets there, but high winds look like a good possibility there. Slovak, you're about to be in the path of the hail core. Row, Ulm is pretty close to that as well. And on the far southern end of this, it's a possibility if it continues moving southeast that it could get into Elmira. So those are the locations that are next up. Still getting a lot of reports of high winds and power outages. It's just something that we're going to be dealing with, Melinda.
Yeah, almost 20,000 without power. Most of those in Pulaski County and in Garland County, of course, where we think there possibly was a tornado touchdown. We said we kind of wanted to give you a heads up for later today. Since last week we've been talking about Wednesday being the big day, and we still think it is, not because of this morning's storm, because of what is going to develop later today, especially late afternoon, probably around 5 or 6 o'clock here in western Arkansas. We're going to start watching for some of those storms to move in from Oklahoma. A little bit later than that, maybe 7, 8, 9 to 10 o'clock here in central Arkansas, and then eastern Arkansas probably up till midnight or the early morning hours tomorrow as well. And this is actually the greater threat for more of the state. More numerous storms expected across Arkansas later today, tonight, and perhaps into the early morning hours on Thursday. Right now, it is that enhanced risk for much of the state, and you kind of see up to the north of us, that's where the Storm Prediction Center has issued this moderate risk. That's next to the highest level on our legend there. So that's from about Springfield, Missouri, through Paducah, Kentucky, and down into Nashville. So really kind of watching that area just to the northeast of the state for the strongest of the storms that we could see tonight. Definitely the greater tornado threat, but we do think that there's a real threat of that here in Arkansas for later today and tonight too. So have that KTV weather app, have it set up so that you get those warnings. High risk of both gusty winds and hail with those storms tonight, but it's a tornado threat too. It's low, but it's not very low, and it's kind of on the top end of low as well because of how unstable the atmosphere is. So again, could be another busy night tonight, and we might not just be tracking one storm tonight like we are this morning. It could be several storms tonight going into tomorrow morning. Then finally, we'll get the payoff as we get to Friday and the weekend. I think we're all ready for that changeover coming this weekend, James.
So I just told you we had a report of 1.5-inch hail. That's quite a bit bigger than quarter-size hail. Well, I think we're having golf ball-size hail falling just north of Coy, Humnoke, and moving into Hamilton. So it's kind of multi-threat. We've got high winds that we've been dealing with. We're also dealing with hail, and this area of hail, the size really started to increase as it came out of the metro area. So I think we're dealing with really along and north of 165. That's where the largest hail is, and I think the largest hailstones are golf ball size, quite a few spots, maybe ping pong ball size hail, and then down to quarter size hail. So Hamilton and Humnoke are about to deal with that. As far as the area rotation goes, I don't see anything that's very concerning as far as imminent production of an isolated or a brief tornado, but this storm, as it rolls east, hail and high winds continue to be the main story. Clarendon is up next. Rowe, Stuttgart areas along, and that's going to be Highway 79, and then Highway 63 that works towards the north that goes up to Hazen and I-40. Hazen and areas along I-40 are getting rain. Carlisle too, Devall's Bluff will as well, but what you're seeing is that areas south of that are getting the worst of this storm as it moves through Lone Oak and then eventually Prairie County, and then eventually it's going to get into Monroe County as well. It looks like it's moving mainly east, but Stuttgart and points to the north going to be dealing with this. Ulm, Rowe, Clarendon, up towards Brinkley, kind of in that zone right there. That's the area that we have to watch. It is moving east at 50 miles per hour with 70 mile per hour winds, ping pong ball sized hail. It's moving east very quickly, and I'm going to zoom out and put a better storm track on this because it is now quickly picking up speed. Now that it's moving at 50 miles per hour, this is going to get out of our hair really here within the next hour. Stuttgart going to be with you at 3:44 a.m., reaching Mariana by about the time we get to an hour from now. And hopefully at that point the storm won't be as severe anymore, but we're still looking at very large hail coming out of this thing. Plus the possibility of the strong to damaging wind gusts. I'll show you the hail detector one more time, and my goodness, it looks like the biggest hailstones there northwest of Humnoke. This algorithm is saying grapefruit-sized hail. I think that would be probably the exception, but definitely could be seeing hailstones now, Melinda, that could be up over 2 inches.
Yeah, for sure, and that is enough to break windows, break glass, cause damage to your car if it's parked outside. So definitely take cover. Don't go outside in that. Yeah, that may be overestimating the size just a little bit, but it still gives us a good indication that there is large hail. We come back to the chroma key wall. I was just going to show you Futurecast. Like we said, this storm is not going to last a whole lot longer, maybe an hour or so longer as it moves into eastern Arkansas. We do have a tornado watch until 6 a.m., but probably the storm will be out of the state before then. Here's Futurecast showing it just kind of estimated from Little Rock eastward as we get to about 5 o'clock. It is now moving into far eastern Arkansas, Searcy. You might see a little bit of rainfall from that, but it doesn't look like the really big thunderstorm that we're tracking now moves close to you. It'll be over here towards Monroe County, Forest City, Wynn, that I-40 corridor in eastern Arkansas. Look back behind it, nothing going on later on this morning, so we'll get a chance to kind of breathe a little bit, regroup as we get ready for those storms that will be moving in tonight. And this is 7 o'clock, and the storm is just about gone. It's over Memphis at that time. And we start off the morning mostly cloudy, but very little rain. There could be some ponding on the roadways, some street flooding because of the heavy rain that's come through with this storm. But just this one storm that got going about 10, 11 o'clock last night and possibly producing a tornado or two across the state. I just checked with the National Weather Service. They have no reports of any injuries at this time. So that is good. With a lot of trees and power lines down now, sometimes that can cause injuries. But right now we're not hearing that happening at all. So that is some good news. Let me take you back to radar. We'll show it to you one more time. Again, power outages, almost 20,000 without power, and it's going to be a warm and humid day, so not good to not have power in this kind of environment that we're in. And of course, this environment is the reason that these storms have escalated so quickly. We'll take you into the severe thunderstorm warnings that are in effect. Again, east of Little Rock, there's the flash flood warning that's in effect, so keep that in mind as traffic gets busy later on today. But again, the severe thunderstorm warnings right around Hamilton there in Lonoke County. We've got some large hail coming down. It looks like maybe a new severe thunderstorm warning has been issued that takes the system on into Monroe County around Clarendon, and briefly also under severe thunderstorm warning as the storm is headed in your direction. James?
All right, so there's that new, you just mentioned a new severe thunderstorm warning. It's 4:15 and that expires. It includes most of Monroe County and a large section of Prairie County, and also includes the Stuttgart area. This storm is mean. It's still out in front of this. Temperatures are well into the 70s. There's plenty of instability, and as long as the storm can take advantage of that, this storm will be severe. There is quite the hail core on the southeast side of this storm. We don't often see our color scale get maxed out, but north of Humnoke and southwest of Hamilton, we're starting to see those black colors show up, and that's where we're finding the largest hail. I think we're maybe not seeing, what the algorithm was saying, grapefruit size hail. I think that's hard to believe, but I think golf ball size hail, maybe baseball size hail could be falling in this area north of Humnoke, and that's very damaging. Again, we've had tornado damage tonight, we've had straight line wind damage. Large hail is just as damaging. We have all three threats coming later on tonight. So here's the hail core in motion, and I'll just do the last 30 minutes, and we can follow it as it's moved through. You can see the progression of this. The hail core is moving east at about 50 miles per hour, so if it holds together, it's going to be going just north of Stuttgart, come towards Ulm, and then getting towards Clarendon, and really Holly Grove as it gets further down the road. It looks like, I would assume that this hail core is going to hold together. It has been holding itself together for a long time. These are severe thunderstorm warnings now. We've gone a little bit without a tornado warning. I think these storms, while not really losing their punch, will at least, looks like, begin to lose their ability to produce tornadoes. So we're mainly just talking about high winds and large hail. There are still some very high winds just to the south of Hazen and Duval's Bluff, and this is in Prairie County, and I'll circle this area for you. That's the area of high winds that we're watching. It's moving east, and that's on track to head towards Clarendon down the road. And Melinda, I'm not sure if we're getting any new power outages reported. I'm still close to 20,000.
Right.
Hopefully this wind isn't reaching the ground, but I think if it does, power outages will certainly be possible.
Yeah, looking in Lonoke County, just saying about 600 without power, so that's not too bad, but still about 9,400 in Pulaski County, and then back into Garland County, almost 8,000 there, so totaling up close to 20,000 without power. Just looking from the National Weather Service, reports of 1.5-inch hail. That's at Blakemore here in Lonoke County. And one report saying that 1.5-inch hail lasted for about 8 minutes. So it's long term. It's not just a brief, little area of hail. It sat over one area for a long time, almost 8 minutes of that hail. So that's enough to do damage to your rooftop, to your car, of course. So severe thunderstorm warnings, yeah, they're not really talking about seeing rotation along this line. It's kind of just turned into one big area of heavy rain. It stretches all the way almost from Des Arc, which is just a little bit out of that severe thunderstorm warning area, down through Duval's Bluff. There's Highway 63 that takes you from Carlisle over to Duval's Bluff, kind of right along I-40, and then on down through sections of eastern Lonoke County, western Prairie County, kind of sitting right there on the county line now. Stuttgart, I know you can hear it, likely off to your west and northwest. That rain is about to come in for you there in Arkansas County. Hamilton in that hail core that we've been talking about, as well as on up into Lonoke County and into Huminoke as well. Back to the west, there is still an old severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Pettus and England, but that rain mostly has decreased. And again, back into Pulaski County, I'll show you that we have also seen that rain decrease. There is still a flash flood warning, though, in effect for much of the county. That includes the 630 corridor, as well as down to the I-30 corridor headed towards Bend and Bryant. So flash flooding, just because we have had so much rain and the ground is still so saturated that it doesn't take much to cause some street flooding. And certainly that's that's one of the bigger dangers with thunderstorms, flooding, especially flash flooding at night when it is hard to see. So as you get out and about on the roadways this morning, there could be debris down, there could be some water standing in some roadways. But again, it's this severe thunderstorm warning that is our focus, and it is the same storm that we have been tracking for several hours as it moved into southwest Arkansas. Again, we have a crew on the way to Lake Hamilton, hearing of some damage there, which sounds like possibly at least a brief tornado touchdown. No injuries have been reported at this time out of any areas the storm has moved through, and it continues through Lono County and now moving into sections of Prairie County. And if this holds together, Brinkley, Clarendon, all the way down to Holly Grove, you will see this heavy rainfall. And again, we've been saying treat this like a tornado warning, because at times we were seeing 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, which is enough to down those trees and power lines. And if that tree is on your car or on your home, that could do quite a bit of damage as well. We know we're getting hail damage out of this. Still that big hail core near Hamilton, with at least, it sounds like, James, an inch to an inch and a half hail with this storm.
That's right. I don't know if it's to the extent that some of the data here is showing is very large hail, but certainly there is hail falling. Some of it could be very large. Still concerned for very high winds as we go towards Monroe County. Rowe, Clarendon, Duncan, Keevil. I think Brinkley's going to avoid the worst of this, but we've got high winds headed your way. Certainly some hail that's going to be in there as well. The large hail falling now just near Humnoke, and that's headed towards Stuttgart Municipal Airport, which is just across the county line there, far northern Arkansas County, or far southern Prairie County rather. Some of those hailstones, I bet, willing to bet, are over quarter size. I'll give you a little hail estimate there, and it's estimating golf ball size hail. This storm continues to just really pick up speed and begin to race eastward, and I think that's going to eventually bring this threat to an end for us tonight. And then we've got to really focus on later today and into tonight. I think it's mainly an evening severe weather threat. I think large hail and high winds are the main threat, but we're not going to be able to rule out tornadoes. We'll have an environment in place that's extremely unstable, not really often seen this time of year here. I mean, temperatures are going to be close to 88, 89 degrees later today, lots of humidity, and so storms should be able to take advantage of that. Hope they don't, but they should be able to take advantage of that later on tonight, and that's why we're concerned about more severe storms. And I think there's going to be more than one storm. I don't think there's just going to be a ton of storms, but more than one, maybe 2, 3, 4, maybe up to 10 before they form in lines, and those are the storms that we're going to have to watch for severe weather, mainly after 6 o'clock tonight. Been a bit of an unexpected turn with a big supercell developing sometime before midnight and staying with it. But Melinda, it looks like the tornadic side of this storm probably completely done. This is just high winds now that's coming into Prairie and Monroe counties.
Yeah, that is good news. Heavy rain. I kind of wanted to zoom out and show you the big picture, because we've been so focused on this one cell, because it has been the only game in town, the only show going on, and it is now headed east. This is definitely going to affect I-40, probably all the way to Memphis, with heavy rain and possibly some gusty winds. But like we said, it has picked up speed a little bit as it continues to move into eastern Arkansas now. But this is a warm environment with temperatures in the 70s and plenty of moisture and humidity as that rain continues. So you can see those severe thunderstorms. Yeah, as we get daylight today, we'll get a little bit more information on Hot Springs area, especially around Lake Hamilton. Our crew is headed there to look at the damage and give us a report starting up on daybreak. The crews for daybreak are already here as well as we start to look at this. But yeah, once we get this one storm out of the state, and that will not be too much longer, we'll really start to focus on what we're expecting later on today and tonight, when we could see several of these. I hate to say that, James, but we could see several cells like these that show all forms of severe weather tonight.
I think the behavior will be very similar to this. They will form, produce hail, try to produce a tornado, and eventually transition to just producing hail and wind. Now, what I've got drawn on here is the complex of storms is starting to bow out as it approaches Clarendon, and that is indicative of high winds headed into Clarendon. And so those spots in Monroe County, I think we're about to deal with some high winds. Of course, the hail threat is there. The storm itself looks like it is starting to weaken. So that is some good news. I think we're about to end this deal, or no chance, I think, for a tornado warning going forward, but we are seeing this storm start to weaken. Still, I think it's going to be able to produce high winds over the next 20 to 30 minutes as it moves into Monroe County. Ulm, it's right there from Stuttgart to Ulm to Clarendon, those locations, all looking at the possibility of high winds and maybe some hail. So that is what we're looking at right now. I do want to show you earlier, if you just happen to join us, this is from Alex DeGrasse. A tornado moved over Lake Hamilton earlier, did damage on both sides of the lake that is in the south side of Hot Springs. I've gotten numerous reports of damage and numerous pictures of damage. Trees and power lines down, metal buildings destroyed. We won't know the extent of the damage until, well, we're about to have eyes on it with Emma Allen going down there. But really, first daylight will give us a better chance at diagnosing exactly what the damage looks like. But that was the tornado over the lake and did damage on both sides of the lake. The storm that we're watching, I think, continues to look impressive from a structural standpoint. It's bowing out there, and that backward C shape is when you have the high winds, and that's what we have right here, racing east. So high winds likely as we go from Prairie into Monroe counties. As you look at the velocity signature, there's still high winds there along Arkansas 33. And again, that's headed right for Clarendon. But other than that, I think this whole thing is just starting to wind down. Of course, not for those of you in Clarendon. You're about to get the worst of it that's currently right now. But this whole episode of severe weather is beginning to reach the end stages.
Yeah, you put out a great tweet today where everybody asked, is it going to be bad? And it's kind of hard to answer that question, because if you're the one that the storm moves over, like Lake Hamilton today, yes, it was bad this morning, but not bad for other areas of the state that haven't seen anything. We've got people all over the state sleeping, and they don't even know these storms are going on. I wanted to show you this as well, James. You were working on this yesterday to kind of show the timing of the next round, and this is really the bigger round, which we expect to be more widespread. So we're really going to be watching as we go into western Arkansas around 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock. These overlap a little bit, of course, between 6 and 11 o'clock tonight here in central Arkansas, moving into eastern Arkansas as well, and then for southeast Arkansas between 9 and about 3 a.m. when those storms could still be moving out of southeastern Arkansas. Once we get this one through, Thursday, I think we've got just a small rain chance in the forecast. By Friday, we get to some nice quiet weather and hopefully a good weekend coming up. But definitely we've got a lot of activity coming through tonight as well. James.
All right, still tracking the high winds that are moving through Prairie County, and we'll soon move into Monroe County. But with the tornado threat having seemingly completely ended, this is just a hail and wind threat, there's not much else that I think we can do to walk you through this, at least at this current moment. Those of you in Clarendon, south of Brinkley, you're about to get high winds. Ulm, you're about to get high winds. Stuttgart, you're about to get high winds. We've repeated it over and over. This storm has just continued to race towards the east with its strong winds and large hail. Thankfully, has not tried to produce a tornado since it was in Lonoke County, and I don't know that it ever did, and that's a good sign. I'll give you a quick update on power outages from Entergy. Right now, the Entergy Arkansas website is reporting over 18,000 without power. You combine other electric co-ops, and we are over 20,000 without power, though only 1,200 of those are in Lonoke County. And many of these are in Pulaski and Garland County, several thousand in each of those counties. Remember, never risk your life to give us a picture of severe weather, but we have gotten pictures to katv.com/chime in. And before we send you back to regular programming here at 4 a.m., we will give you a look at some of the pictures and videos that we have received. We have nothing new from the National Weather Service. They have nothing to add to the severe thunderstorm warning and this storm that's racing east. Now it's about to be on Clarendon. I believe that's crossing over the White River right now. And that high wind, the storm, it looks like it is beginning to weaken, but probably still pushing out high winds. And I'm still getting reports of damage in Hot Springs. Lots of reports. Emma Allen's getting into Hot Springs, and
Yeah, I think when the sun comes up, Hot Springs is going to have quite a bit of damage. So, National Weather Service showing that this storm with the severe thunderstorm warning right on top of Duval's Bluff and Clarendon right now, and we just got a report from the National Weather Service that these winds may be coming in as much as 70 miles per hour. You can see how it's kind of pushing out a little bit when you get sort of these bow echoes. That's just an indication that the wind is pushing the rain forward because it is so strong, and that is moving into Clarendon. So Holly Grove, prepare for that wind as well as heavy rain and possibly some hail. And then as we look at the I-40 corridor from Duval's Bluff right on up into Brinkley there in Monroe County, that's where this storm is moving through. Looks like it's going to stay just to the south of Des Arc and Cotton Plant, but it is going to affect travel on I-40 east of Duval's Bluff through Brinkley. And again, that severe thunderstorm remains in effect. But good news, National Weather Service not really saying much about any rotation along that line right now, not really looking at anything. Looks like it is just, like we described earlier, a big wall of water that is headed in. Looks like the hail core here just to the east of Humanoak. So that's getting close to Stuttgart. So Stuttgart, you could be seeing some large hail. Most of the reports we've been getting is about 1 inch to 1.5 inches hail coming through. And again, Carlisle, you're now outside of the thunderstorm warning, so that's good news. England, Pettus as well. Yeah, and Lonoke County was under a tornado warning for a while, as we did see some small rotation, weak rotation along that line, but not really seeing power outages there. And many times that's sort of our first clue that perhaps we have had a touchdown, like we are seeing in Garland County. And then in Pulaski County, while we never were under a tornado warning, we had winds that were almost equal to a small tornado that's coming through, especially southwest Little Rock. So a lot of power outages there. So this will continue to move on towards the east. Again, it's not a tornado warning, but it is a severe thunderstorm warning. Everybody needs to heed that as it moves towards the east, continues on into eastern Arkansas over the next hour or so. James?
all right, the National Weather Service saying 70-mile-per-hour winds are now moving into Clarendon. This is just the line segment we've been talking about, and it's got that backward C shape, and those winds are pushing out directly towards the east, now moving into Clarendon. So some power outages are likely there, especially towards the north of Rowe. The southern end of this line, north of Stuttgart, is where most of the large hail has been. I think we're still tracking hail in that part of the line, and that's moving into Stuttgart. So if you are in Stuttgart, the hail core looks like it's going to be moving in here shortly, and that could be up to golf ball size hail that is headed your direction. So that's for our friends that are in Stuttgart this morning, getting close to 4 a.m. And there's small hail probably embedded within this line for the most part, but definitely looking at the largest hail probably is toward the south side of the line, near or just north of Stuttgart. The high winds will get into Clarendon here shortly, and then this storm will continue rolling towards the east. This storm just doesn't look as strong as it was 25 minutes ago, but it is still a very strong storm, and it is going to continue racing towards the east. And eventually it's going to get towards Marvell, Mariana, before it gets off towards the Mississippi River. I don't think it's going to weaken until after sunrise. It's just going to continue moving towards the east. It may not be as strong as it was, but it is just going to continue rolling towards the east, with severe winds and also some large hail. Melinda, of all the damage reports I've gotten from Lake Hamilton, I haven't seen anything like a house completely leveled. So hopefully this is not a tornado that was on the stronger side. Hopefully it's a tornado that it just damaged trees and power lines. There is a lot of tree and power line damage. I've seen a lot of metal buildings damaged, but those are very easily damaged during a tornado. Stuttgart, all right, this is back to right now. The Stuttgart airport just had a 52-mile-per-hour wind gust. The higher winds are towards the north. I think we'll see Clarendon probably get some 70-mile-per-hour winds, if I had to guess. It's be pretty close to that. Melinda, daybreak is coming up here. I believe we're going to have a report from Emma Allen once she gets into the worst of the damage in the area of Lake Hamilton on the south side of Hot Springs. The downtown area, Hot Springs, was spared. This tornado was on the south side, Pettyview over to Lake Hamilton and then up towards Lake Catherine. We'll have to see how long the tornado track was. It was on the ground for at least a few minutes, and it did cross over Lake Hamilton. That's the top story tonight. The top story later on today is going to be what happens as we get into the afternoon hours, and unfortunately, it looks like we get some sunshine this afternoon, and that is going to set the stage for what's likely going to be another round of severe weather. Now, the data has varied on the initiation time. I think it's going to be between 5 and 7, and what we're going to end up with is clusters of thunderstorms during the evening hours moving east, and that is at 11 p.m. tomorrow night, with thunderstorms that are out there moving through the central part of the state. So, less than 24 hours from now, we may have to do this again. I think we'll be dealing with not storms in every single part of the state, Melinda. Some spots are going to be spared, but there's going to be more storms out there and severe weather, large hail, high winds, isolated tornadoes possible with whatever is out there tomorrow night.
Yeah, and I don't, I think a lot of people are seeing the pictures out of Oklahoma, and, that just causes so much concern. I don't think our risk even tonight is what they have seen this week. There was one day this week when they were under the highest risk that is issued for tornado situations. And so we are not seeing that. We're still just under an enhanced risk, but that is enough to watch for, certainly. So severe thunderstorm warning continues for much of Lonoke County over into Monroe County, or Prairie County over into Monroe County. So that heavy rainfall coming down, headed into Brinkley. It's in Clarendon right now. You just mentioned Stuttgart getting some of those wind gusts, but probably right there over Clarendon are the strongest of the winds. Back into Pulaski County, flash flood warnings remain in effect. Keep that in mind. It has been raining heavily, briefly, but downpours that can cause some street flooding, and then just kind of some scattered thunderstorms through Cabot, down through England now as well, but it is still just this one storm. So, James, I think we can let our crews kind of regroup a little bit. We thank you.
Yeah,
for staying here.
We're
all the
getting
way to
close
daybreak.
to 4 a.m. The high winds continue off towards the east. Daybreak's going to resume here at 4:30, and we'll have reports coming from Lake Hamilton likely this morning and all day, and then of course we'll be with you tonight when we get our next round of severe weather going. Okay.
Get out of here.
Woo! All right, for my Facebook audience, I know we still have a storm out in East Arkansas, but tornado threat has ended. We're going to cut this stream, and we'll be bringing you more information, much more later on today. Possibility of more severe weather. I got to get a little bit of sleep before I